Janta. Honorable Sister Prem Janta had at the Open University, Malaysia.
This research to bring in glory.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at law in 1985.
Today is a red letter day for the Kotelawala Defence University. You are successfully conducting the 10th International Research Conference of your university. To sustain such an effort is not easy, especially for a young university like yours. Research is the hallmark of a university. The two pillars of a university are the discovery of new knowledge and the dissemination of such knowledge. It is through research and experimentation the universities discover new knowledge, and those who undertake only dissemination of knowledge without contributing to the body of knowledge in society fall short of universities. The Vice Chancellor, academics, professionals, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, I wish to congratulate you, the Council and the Senate of the University, for their academic leadership in our higher education system. Your international conference has been able to attract a large number of research works of academics, more than 500 papers, I understand. But out of more than 500 papers, you are selected for 300. The scientists and the professionals with the participation of other resource persons. Then you have from a wide array of fields in Sri Lanka and overseas. More interestingly, this conference is the leading opportunity available to members of the armed forces to present their academic work. The characteristic of a modern army is mastering of knowledge, in addition to the mastery of weapons, intelligence and information. New knowledge represents a new weapon, a weapon of strategy formulation. On behalf of the government of Sri Lanka, let me say that your research contributions are highly valued, and the government would like to encourage the search for new knowledge and its applications. From the long list of research papers of this conference, I see that you will analyze, discuss and debate on a wide range of issues involving science, technology, social sciences and professional subjects, all which having a bearing on people's life. The power of science to bring about change places a duty on the scientists and as well as members of the armed forces to proceed with great caution and concern for the well-being of the common man. I like to share with you a few thoughts about the implications of scientific advances and trends of emerging technologies on the future directions of the development of our country. Many new technologies are going to change our way of life as well. For an example, nanotechnology, the high technology of the new millennium. It will affect every industry from toothpaste to car tires, from glass to clothing, and from navigation to production of equipment, including military equipment. We will need new strategies in the field in different areas. Innovating Sri Lanka, introduced by my ministry, in different fields: nanotechnology, biotechnology, robotics and artificial intelligence, genomics, etc. Now, for an example, close to this institution, this university, you find Arthur C. Clarke Institute of Modern Technologies under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Research. Under this Innovating Sri Lanka program of my ministry. That institution, they have already started training engineers, young and experienced, and academics and professionals, with the collaboration of University of Samara in Russian Federation. University of Samara, from Sputnik to latest rocket engine, they are responsible for designing those engines. It's a university. Are having research and development. They pass it to Roscosmos, is responsible for launching rockets, like NASA in the United States. Recently I visited Moscow with His Excellency the President, and I spent 2 more days. I went to University of Samara together with the chairperson of the institution and the Director General, and we signed a MOU with the university and the Roscosmos. Now our vision is, by 2020, we want to send our own nano satellite to the orbit with the assistance of Roscosmos. There is one particular area. And you find Slintech. One of my predecessors, Professor Tisavitaram, who pioneered that project about 6 years ago, and 2014, Nanotechnology Laboratory Commission in the Science Park in Pittipanahumaka. Now you find 23 young PhDs of Sri Lankans who have graduated from various universities in other countries. Now they are working in that institution. They engage with research. It's an ideal model for public-private partnership. The chairman from the private sector, CEO from private sector. 4 out of 7 directors from the private sector. But the capital investment done by the government. So we are going to continue that. The second hexagon will be started before end of this year. And in that science park, we are going to start biotechnology laboratory. It is at the consultancy stage. Then we want to introduce robotics and artificial intelligence. And the genomics with the President of Commonwealth Association, Professor Vajradhi Sanayak. He is responsible for the project, and we are going to start genomic laboratory in Colombo. The cabinet paper is ready by now. So I just want to highlight, as a Minister of Science, Technology and Research, what we are doing at the moment. We are in a changing world. Science, technologies, changing within 24 hours. So we want to mold our nation to match to that modern technologies and sciences emerging in the world. Dr. Bandula Vijay is with us today to deliver the keynote address. I met him a few years ago in Houston. Very few Sri Lankans knew about Dr. Bandula Vijay until I invited him for the STS forum attended by more than 700 Sri Lankan scientists and over 105 scientists from overseas we had in last September in Colombo. So then now Dr. Bandula Vijay is Vidya Jyoti. He was awarded by His Excellency the President a few months ago, and we appointed him as the Science Ambassador in the United States. So with his assistance, we managed to send team of medical doctors to Houston to have discussion with one of the leading medical colleges, Baylor College of Medicine and Rice University in Houston. So now we have started a strong link between Baylor College of Medicine, Rice University and other institutions, research institutions in Houston. So similarly, we will be able to help KDU to strengthen the relationship between universities in other countries, especially the leading universities. And by now, within last 24 months, I managed to start another strong link with CERN laboratory in Geneva, Switzerland, mainly focused on particle physics. So we will be becoming an associate member of CERN laboratory. Almost all European Union countries are associate members of CERN laboratory, and our neighboring India and even Bangladesh, they are also members. So at the moment, 4 undergraduates selected from 4 universities, Ruhuna, Colombo, Jaffna and Caledonia. They will be in Geneva within next couple of weeks to follow advanced courses. So last year we managed to send 2, and in the future we will be able to give opportunities to your university also. And I saw another link with one of the leading laboratories in northern part of America, in Chicago. So as I mentioned, so we have started strong links with leading universities, laboratories, with my ministry and the institutions. Now for an example, few weeks ago, a team of 22 scientists representing medical field, or the environment, and the water management, they were in Beijing. I saw Professor Sirimali Fernando, the chairperson of National Science Foundation, is here with us today. And she was responsible for organizing that joint workshop with Chinese scientists. So when we managed to get the support from Chinese Academy of Sciences, one of the leading institutions in China, and China National Science Foundation, we have signed MOU. So like that, with all the leading countries, with all science foundations, we have started collaborations with those institutions to promote science, technology and innovation. 2 weeks ago, I was in New York, UN headquarters. The ECOSOC, one of the subcommittee of the United Nations, is responsible for promoting social sciences, technologies and innovation. Now they are focusing on 17 SDG goals and 169 targets. Out of 17 SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, introduced by United Nations 2 years ago, all of the member nations to achieve those goals and targets by 2030. As Sri Lankans, we have already achieved some of the targets, not all goals. 6 goals are directly connected to science, technology and innovation. So every year, subcommittee of the United Nations organize the review meeting. So I was in New York about a month ago, attending the second review meeting of STI for SDG in New York. So I just wanted to highlight what we are doing as a Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. Not only that, it is our responsibility and the duty to promote science, technology, especially the emerging technologies. Now we have challenges if you do a SWOT analysis, then you find what are the challenges, what are the weaknesses, what are the strengths we have, and what are the options we have. So as a nation, we have good talents. We have shown it. 30 years long conflict. So we managed to solve with dedication and with great sacrifice, human lives and resources in the year 2009. We are, as a nation, we have more than 2,500 written history. The irrigation, the medicine, engineering. So we have shown our talents as a nation for years. Why can't we do it again? Because we were under Portuguese, Dutch and British for more than 500 years. So as a nation, we lost our talents. Even after the independence, the industrial revolution, so we lost it. Then technology revolution started somewhere around 1970s, 80s, we lost. Are we going to lose the modern technologies with our talents? No. So we have to get ready as a nation with the guidance of His Excellency the President and the government to emerge as scientifically, technically, knowledge and with the new technological know-how to mold our younger generation matching to the future of 21st millennium. So that is why we always ready to help or assist all the universities to organize this type of research conferences. This year, more than 9 universities, they seek our support and we help them, and even the next week we have another research symposium. Other than the institutions under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Research, we have NASTEC, we have National Research Council, National Science Foundation, National Institute of Fundamental Studies in Kandy. So every year they have research conferences. Now here you have 9 faculties. I am amazed and I am very happy when I watch the video clip shown to us today. And I observe the organizing of this research conference. The dancing, then other events so far is excellent. Because as a Minister of Education and for a short period of time as a Minister of Higher Education, I have attended many university events. Not this university, but our traditional universities. But here I see the difference between our traditional universities and your university. Everything, the quality. You maintain quality, not just quality, total quality. And the perfection. When I observe the dancing here by your students, I believe this is perfect. And you always maintain quality. So I am wondering what is the secret behind this. I believe that is discipline. If you have the discipline as an institution, then you are perfect and you can maintain quality. Then your product at the end of 3 years or 4 years course, then your product as doctors, engineers, managers, accountants, social scientists. So then you have total quality products in your university. That's what we need at the moment. In the time that all the academics, the professionals, as a government we need your guidance, your voice to develop our countries. And I must mention, now we have initiated a program that is to reform the STEM education in our country. Science, technology, engineering and mathematics. It is high time to change the system, teaching methods, and upgrade our laboratories in schools. We have more than 1,016 advanced laboratories in our country. I don't want to mention the statistics of intakes to various faculties of the universities. We have 15 universities, 8 medical faculties. Unfortunately, 8,000 medical students are not attending lectures at the moment. I have different opinion on that issue. I don't want to mention it here today. But it's a crime. Why should we allow our 8,000 medical students not attending lectures for 7 months? So we need to address these issues immediately and solve it forever. So this is an example. Defense University, Kotelawala. Mr. Sandagiri is here. I know him for many years, and even Defense Secretary. We are contemporaries in courts, but now we are meeting at a different forum and different level. So most of the academics, professionals representing Sri Lanka, our universities and institutions are known to me. So I find so many academics and professionals from overseas. So we treat you as resource persons. We are emerging, this is an emerging university. You have few years of history and you have to do a lot of things. And I request Vice Chancellor and the academic staff of the university to engage more with research work. To mold our younger generation, we need to do this STEM education reforms. And within next 2 weeks' time, I am going to submit a cabinet memorandum to get the approval for the concept paper and the action plan, and there will be a dialogue in the society among academics, professionals, educationists, and how to reform STEM education in our country. And within next few years, you find quality GCE A-level students to fill the gaps with some innovative knowledge, and then you find many researchers. So with these remarks, I sincerely hope your conference and the papers presented there will result in useful findings which could help formulate evidence-based policies and programs for our country. With that hope, let me congratulate you again and wish you a very productive conference. Thank you.
I want to share with you my thoughts about a very important and current topic. And the topic is purpose-driven education. So it is my distinct privilege and honor to address this esteemed audience of intellectuals of Sri Lanka and from around the world on the subject of purpose-driven education. Sri Lanka undoubtedly is the home of the intellectuals. We are the most literate country in Asia with more than 95% literacy rate. In fact, we are the envy of even the Western world. Sri Lanka is also one of the most beautiful nations on earth. The cloud-kissing mountains, cascading waterfalls, the lush green mountains, slopes, golden sandy beaches, no doubt qualify Sri Lanka to receive that accolade. And even what is even more striking than that are the beautiful minds, beautiful brains that are here in this audience, in the other audience, and in the rest of the country. We are a blessed nation. Our nation is blessed with intellectuals, brains. And some of our brains have done very well here and around the world. If I mention this, all the names, I think I will not be able to get my message to you today because there are so many. So ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about how we can utilize these brains. We must capitalize on our brain power and bring our country to the higher echelons of those nations who have come to the same levels of success. United States, Japan, China, and many other nations, just to name a few. Every nation has a unique economy based on its natural resources and the human capital. And education system obviously plays a very important role, and the development of the workforce plays a very important role in the development of that nation. So what would bring our nation, or any nation for that matter, to be successful? And the most important factor, undoubtedly, is education. So let me elaborate on a few factors that contributed to the rise of the United States in the last 100 years and what transpired this development of the United States to become a major innovator in the world. Of course, you know what I'm going to say. Purpose-driven education. So I use this word before the word education, the word purpose, because the education should have a purpose, not simply learning something, but learning something for a purpose. So let me highlight a few very important contributing factors, which I strongly believe has contributed to the success of the United States. I have lived there for more than 40 years, so I have observed during the last 40 years how the education system developed, changed, and keeps changing. First, education in America is a learning process and not a teaching process. In fact, it is a lifelong learning process. Every year, at my age, I go back to classroom to get 16 hours of continuing education units in order to keep my license. This is true of all the doctors, engineers, lawyers, accountants, everyone. So continuing education also plays a very important role in imparting the young people of the education that they will receive. Higher education is carried out by instructors, not by teachers. If you Google or go to a website of any university, look for the courses, you will never you will never find the teacher for the course is Dr. So-and-so. It's always the instructor for the course. We instruct, not teach. I remember my first day of school with a brand new notebook, new ballpoint pen, sat in the class. My professor, at the time Professor Wilcox, came to class and said, okay, let's study the first 3 chapters. Your test will be 2 weeks from now. And we waited for him to teach it. Only thing I wrote was the names of the chapters I had to study. I was in 1974. So I realized very quickly that I will have to dance to a new tune. And the process of self-learning got started on that day. Instructor guides the student to learn material by themselves, not from the class teacher, but also from the surroundings, by interaction with other students, being hands-on from outside the classroom. The student is soaked in the entire learning process. Students are encouraged to express their opinions, trust themselves, be open to new solutions, learn to handle unclear and conflicting information, consider things from different viewpoints, seek new information, and review the way they think. Classroom is a place to assimilate skills through open discussion of the subject via a dialogue, not a unidirectional monologue where you receive the information. Students are given problems to solve. Learning is by questioning and solving problems. And it should be done, and it is done individually and by teams. And it is very important to engage the students to work in teams in order to gain their education. In the United States, we call it the problem-based learning, or PBL for short. Started about 20 plus years ago. All medical schools today in the United States use PBL as the system of educating the medical students. Along with another process called ISL, Integrated Learning Systems, where you learn about a subject in light of all the other subjects. You're not simply learning anatomy, you're learning anatomy in light of other fields like physiology, biochemistry, pathology, and various other. So they are not learning this in compartments. They are learning it all together, how one area affects the other. Students acquire skills by actually solving real life problems, not learning theory. Students appreciate the principles learned in light of actual use, not assumed use, not by plugging values or numbers into a formula. Emphasis is on fundamental reasoning and critical thinking rather than theory and acquiring knowledge. We also have embraced the 21st century methods. Today we extensively use technology. Everything is on the web. Your subject material is on the web. The teacher is narrating his instructions on the web. So the student can learn, he can go to school or classroom, or he can stay home and learn the same thing. And when the student doesn't understand something, he can always rewind and listen to this narration again and again and again until he understands it. When he goes back to the classroom, he can have a dialogue with the teachers. He can say, well, I don't understand this part. I need you to explain that to me. When it is done in the classroom, you know, when the teacher keeps teaching, or in the United States, when the instructor keeps instructing, you may miss something. You cannot stop him, say, go back over and over again, because there are a lot of the students who probably have understood it. So using technology is one of the things that has happened. I have a course, my course, that is on the website. The students have a username, password, they log in and they learn the material from the web. Second point, education is broad-based. Education is not limited to 2 or 3 subjects. And one of the most important things is the inclusion of liberal arts. Liberal arts are a main component of the American education system. The first 2 years of any degree program is all about liberal arts. If you are in a course to become an engineer, the first 2 years you'll be learning sociology, political science, economics, various other subjects in addition to the subjects that are for that field of engineering. Research has shown that successful inventors and entrepreneurs have a very broad knowledge base. This, in my opinion, is the main reason, more than any other reason, for the technological advancement enjoyed by the United States. The broad-based education, hands down. Third, in the United States, we emphasize skills than knowledge. Knowledge gets old. Knowledge I received in my high school years during advanced level is now old. Most of that is not the same. So why should I pay so much importance to knowledge? Because the knowledge itself keeps changing. Instead, we encourage the development of academic skills, where the student learns to learn. Students must learn how to acquire knowledge, not to accumulate knowledge. I see this in young people in America, my students, my employees, my colleagues. They have learned to learn, come up with information, and through that information, provide solutions on things that they have no idea before. The last few years, I have been working with a lot of young doctors and engineers because I'm an advisor in the Texas Medical Center incubator. So I see how they function in their ability to learn things that they have no idea about and use it where they need such knowledge. This is one of the most important and interesting facts in the American system. And I am a case in point. Without a medical background, I am in medical research. Students are equipped with skills to acquire knowledge rather than accumulate knowledge. Students are tested on critical thinking skills, not how much knowledge they possess. There are no knowledge-based questions. Asking students questions that stimulates their mind and testing their ability to solve real-life problems. Fourth is the culture of research that the Honorable Minister talked about. So research in America starts in the kindergarten. Kindergartens are asked to do independent research. Now you might think, what would a kindergartner would do as research? I have two sons, and they grew up. I went through this process. When they were in the kindergarten, they're supposed to write research about their family. What's your father? What's your mother? Where do they come from? Where do you live? What do you eat? So it promotes the asking of questions. They come and ask, what do you eat, Tati? Or what kind of job do you do? So it stimulates them to ask questions. So developing this culture of questioning is obviously, as you all know, is a prerequisite for one to excel in research and become an innovator or inventor. And this is true irrespective of the field of study. Whether you are in economics, whether you are a biologist, medical students is immaterial. Everyone has to do research. Most courses, your instructor is going to ask to write research papers, 2 or 3 sometimes in a semester. So they learn how to do research, and it starts very early in their childhood. Lastly, one of the most important aspects of learning education is the development of the culture of entrepreneurship. All American universities have this culture, where the students develop new business concepts, develop products, obtain patents, raise money to start business, write business plans, while they are still in school. Rewarding those students who bring up new ideas and bringing them to fruition is a norm. As I said earlier, in the Texas Medical Center, which is one of the largest, being the largest medical center in the world, with an economy of $87 billion, we have a large number of incubators. And I was fortunate to take Honorable Minister to those various incubators, introduce them to the people who run them, get an introduction, and we are hoping we will mimic this and start a similar incubator in Sri Lanka, in Colombo. And this training brings another interesting point. When the students start a project, which we normally call a startup, is done by teams, not by one person. And it's done by people from different fields. In a typical startup, you will have a medical student, engineering student, economic student, students of various backgrounds who have joined their hands to start this new project. So that brings a richness. It brings the value into the startup, rather than just one person with one focus, with one mindset. It's an assembly of all different ideologies, all different knowledges, all different skills in the process of the business startup. Such entrepreneurship is at all levels in the education process. I think every so often you have heard about the lemonade stands, because sometimes it comes up in news that some little kid is having a lemonade stand in the neighborhood, and maybe they didn't have a city permit, and the police would give some sort of a warning. So, and that is children who are in the 3rd grade. So entrepreneurship starts very early. Once they graduate from a university, who have undertaken this startup culture, who have soaked themselves in the concept of starting business, what do you think they will do? They are going to be the CEO of their company and not look for a job somewhere else. This is one of the most important aspects of bringing entrepreneurship starting from the elementary school. Now you of course have heard about Facebook, Apple, and so many companies in the United States. These are good examples of the startup. They did that while they were in the university, or some of them not even in the university. So there are a lot that we can learn from the United States. I just mentioned a few. United States is a very interesting country. There are no natives. Seriously, we say there are no natives, but there were few. But when we say there were no natives, what we mean is that the current population are all immigrants, or mostly immigrants. We are from all over the world. There are the white Europeans from England and UK, the non-white Europeans, the Asians, the Africans. We are from all over the world. We have assembled in the United States. It's a melting pot. Along with this immigration, we have brought many cultures and work ethics, skill sets, and various other assets to America. But we have conformed on one thing very quickly. We have conformed under skill-based education. Most of the people that I work with, I know, other than the ones who are born in the United States, came from some other country, India or China or Pakistan, who were in a different system, including myself. But after we arrived, within a year, our mind has changed, our mindset has changed, our thinking has changed, and we concentrate more of a skill-based learning than a knowledge-based learning. So finally, let me plant a thought in your mind. In the US, when I meet someone at a party or at an event, or even in an elevator, the person usually assumes that I'm a doctor. The clue is my brown skin. Someone few years younger looking than me, they think I'm an IT person. Why? Because our good friends north of us here have done such a great marketing job. And they have established themselves as smart professionals, especially in medicine, engineering, and IT. You don't have to go too far. Every tech company CEO is an Indian. It's true they are technologically savvy. They work hard for it. But more than that, they set their mind to one thing. They wanted to brand themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, branding is very important if you want to come to the echelons that I discussed in the beginning of my talk. when we think of United States or the Americans, we brand ourselves as innovators. Just about every innovation, maybe one or two less, has been done in the United States. Whether it is in medicine, whether it's in engineering, space science, biology, we innovate. We innovate because of what I just said. Koreans have done it with their electronic equipment, televisions, cell phones, cars, plastic surgery. Israel, with unique advanced weapon systems, and most of you would know about that, and medical devices. Swiss, with precision watches and machines. Germans with their engineering. Chinese have branded themselves for manufacturing, mass manufacturing, and of course their high-speed trains. So branding is very important for a country to get acceptance as a global leader in a given field. If someone in another country is looking for a product or service, like in my case, sometimes I want to get somebody to build a stent. My mind goes straight to China. I don't think of India, or I don't think of Pakistan or Indonesia. I need to get this thing made. Where should I go? China. So when somebody thinks of something, they have to, your name has to come up #1 in the list. That's branding. And simply they say, you want a soft drink? Coca-Cola. People say, I need a Coke, but they go and drink a Pepsi, but they think of Coke. So branding is very important. So what I'm asking you to do is to think, what can we do to brand us in Sri Lanka? So learning from others, we in Sri Lanka must brand ourselves. So what can we do? And what should we do? This in mind is for us, can be done by reaching the pinnacle of education. Based on our resources, our talents, the manpower, what is it in our basket that we have that we can use to brand ourselves? Education. And we can and we must become the education hub of Asia. Now I already see that happening at KDU with a large number of foreign students. In a few years, most of these students in Asia, and I believe some from Australia, and it won't be too long when the word gets around to United States, American students who pay $500,000 to become a doctor will spend a fraction of that can come to KDU to become a doctor. So we can brand ourselves by creating in Sri Lanka the education hub. Provide an education parallel to none. Practical, skill-based, well-rounded, innovation-capable, enterprise-directed, and ladies and gentlemen, uniquely purpose-driven. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here and to give you this address this morning. I would like to begin by congratulating KDU on the exceedingly wide range of academic as well as professional disciplines that you have brought under the remit of a single defense university. One would normally expect a university bearing such a name to focus on perhaps military history, strategy, military strategy, science of weaponry, and so on. But the concept of defense itself has a much wider range of interpretation. And it is to these that you have turned to expand the remit of your university. The primary aim of a well-established state is to ensure the defense and security of its citizens against attack from other states. And in this regard, an army, a navy, air force, and so on have their due place. There is also need to defend law-abiding citizens from other citizens, and here institutions like the police and the judiciary play a role. Finally, there must be a system of defense in place to protect citizens against the state itself. And here, of course, we require the judges and the judiciary to be independent of the state. Finally, we can even think of even broader applications of the concept of defense that are the responsibility of an enlightened and civilized society. Defense against ignorance, bigotry, superstition, which all come under the heading of education and science.